Okay. Oh. All right. Well, hello, sawadee tukon. Sawadee. Aloha. Especially you folks out in Maui. Aloha. Namaste, namaskar. Um, Beautiful, fantastic. Well, I'm here. I'm still here in the gulag. What? And I had to take care of a few more things. Good morning. Good evening. So, to all of you folks in this part of the world, good evening. Sunday Night Live, and to all of you folks in the other parts of the world, good morning tomorrow. Well, except for Europe, yeah, you guys are still you're later than us, but not quite morning, right? I guess it's early morning, yeah, maybe getting close to it. Wow. So anyway, um, fantastic. So we're all getting on board. Good. Okay. Good. 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 All right. Fantastic. Yeah. So as you just a quick update on the Facebook, it's still they haven't. I don't know. I guess this is how they work. It's kind of sleazy, you know. It's instead of just saying, "Hey, we don't want you anymore because we don't like what you talk about." Okay, I get it. That's fine. I get it. Okay, then shut off my account and let's wished. Uh, let's just say aloha or sawadee kap or whatever, but not um, do what they're doing. It's like kind of sleazy. It reminds me of people that sneak around, look in people's windows, and I don't know, turn on smart TVs from their offices and watch people at home. And you know, it's a very sneaky thing to do, right? Just kind of either they were complicit in somebody who took over my account or our, the account wasn't really me personally, but it was. Um, Either they were complicit or they are now demonstrating their disdain, their great disdain for me. They're doing a good job. Got to hand it to them. So anyway, listen. One of the things I wanted to before I get started with all that, let me go to the announcements we have to make because these are kind of important. Yeah. So just okay. So yeah, that's it. So we're not on Facebook anymore because they won't. I mean, we're there, but that's not really us. We're no longer there. And by the way, nobody will ever get a message from me on any kind of social media. So if you got a message on any kind of social media, it's not me. It's not me. Okay. If we communicate with people, it's to the general public on a social media or directly to your email. And I'm really happy you guys are a lot of people are sending emails, so I'm going to try to get to them tonight as well. And then, but just so you know that we're on the Twitter/X, whatever it is, at Dr. Thomas Lodi MD, at Dr. Thomas Lodi MD. The rest of them, YouTube, Rumble, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, are all at Dr. Thomas Lodi, no MD. Okay, and then you can go to the website. And you know, drlodi.com/live, and that'll allow you to stream as well. So anyway, do all that. We're getting ready to. We had I think the last time I spoke to you was that at Beljanski, right? When I just finished the Beljanski, it was a great, wonderful, emotional, for me, experience to meet so many people out there that were. It was just beautiful. Yeah. So I really. It's the probably the you can't say the reason it's hard to say the reason why we do anything. We do what we do because the thoughts come to our mind and our behaviors go that way, and then we sometimes we conclude that we're the ones that decided to do things and all that sort of thing. But I think in the end, you will all figure out that this is not our show. This is God's show, and that we are. Oh, I can't. I see. I can't. Okay. So that we all have a front row seat in this fantastic, great drama called uh I don't know, what are we going to call this drama? Let's leave it up to God to give it a name. But anyway, this great drama, the producer, director, casting director who picked each one of us for our roles because no one could do it better, and script writer, and set decorator, and if there's anything else you can put into a movie, that's about it for the standard movies. But that all goes to God. So we didn't write the script. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Michael and Sheila. Very nice. Very nice. I'm very happy you joined us. Long time. Okay, good. Yeah, right. So anyway, that's all I'm saying. Now, before I get into the questions, I want a couple of observations. You guys are too funny. Okay, so here I am traveling. I'm in hotels and things like that, and then I get messages from people all the time, and the question is, how did this happen to me? How did I get sick? How did I do this? Because I was, a lot of times, sometimes people were living a life that they say, well, okay, my lifestyle was kind of, toxic, or some people say my lifestyle really wasn't toxic, and how's all this happening and all that. And all you got to do is travel a little bit and you'll find out. Go to the next town or go in your own town, but at least get your next town and stay in a hotel and just see. You'll see. So I'm in a hotel. I can't sleep last night. Why can't I sleep? Well, I think I thought the bed's too hard, right? I mean, too soft. I mean, it's ridiculously soft. I mean, my only conclusion is that no, I don't find them this soft in Asia. So I wonder why that is. Could you think it's because, I don't know, something to do with the weight on the bed over 5 years, 10 years? I think that might have something to do. But anyway, the bed is ridiculously soft. I mean, like my back. So then I'm sleeping on the floor, and it's not right. I'm sleeping on the couch. They have a little sofa here, and it's just not comfortable. It's just really uncomfortable. And I realize I'm sitting in a sea of 5G. I'm being completely immersed in electromagnetic frequencies. And then I look, unfortunately I bring my own stuff with me to take, for my personal hygiene. But I look at what they're offering people, and even the soaps and the whatever they have, mouthwash and things like that, and the toothpastes, and I mean, just like wow. The question is, how do you not get sick? How can you not get sick here? You can't. So anyway, so what do we do, folks? What do we do? And I was, by the way, I complained. Oh, listen, since this was another mind blower, and I'm sure I just telling you this because I thought you might be interested. Just it's kind of like an update for me. It's an update on my recent experiences, but it's applicable to all of us. So yeah, so I asked the guy, do you have another room that has a little firmer bed? And so he takes me to rooms that are for people that are with disabilities. And I couldn't figure out the reasoning. What was the reasoning of taking me? Because it might have less. I don't know. I have no idea. He thought. So anyway, I was talking to him about stuff, and I said, "Why is it now you have maid service every 4 days? So that means if I come in if I'm staying here 3 days, I get no maid service, all right? I mean, no one comes and gives me new towels and anything like that. Well, this since COVID." I said, "Wait a minute, wait. So the reason this happened is because we thought that if you did less maid service, it would decrease your risk of catching something that they're calling COVID." And he was, and so I said, "Listen, let me ask you a question." He was a young guy. I said, "Do you know what's going on?" And so clearly he doesn't. So I said, "Is it that you don't know what's going on because you don't know what's going on, or because you don't want to know what's going on, but inside you know what's going on?" Change the subject. And then he says, "Here we are." Anyway, they can't address it. They can't talk it. So here's what I realized something. And this is kind of an important thing to keep in mind. Please keep this in mind. They don't have to make artificial intelligence. It already exists. They've succeeded already. It's an amazing, like you can get about, you should get, I mean, what's happened on the planet for the last 140 years is the most incredible and profound sociology experiment ever. But it has turned people in from whatever we were. And I can only imagine what we were in 1890, 1880, 1860, or 1810. I can only imagine by reading books from then. And well, first of all, I see the language that we used, even in America. I mean, and if you're not from America, like if you're Europe, if you're British, of course, you speak much better, more proper English, a much higher working vocabulary than Americans and Canadians. And probably Australians and New Zealanders. I don't know. They might be a little higher than Americans, but unfortunately, we've lost it, and now we're going further. Right? We're going further. Now we want to eliminate simple words like for, for. The preposition. So we just want to turn that back into the number. So for, and then you. It takes way too long to write you, way too long. So I'm just going to put a u because it's too long. And I don't have time because I got to get back to what? I got to get back to, streaming, not streaming, whatever it is, looking for stuff, surfing. So it's for you. Okay, so now we're taking the language that has been, that has been lost. Basically, it's a lost language. We've lost so many, our working vocabulary. I'd like to know if anyone has the data on that. What was our working vocabulary in 1810, 1910, and 2010? And now, how about now, today? But in other words, the working vocabulary is the vocabulary that is in use by most people most of the time. All right, not by some. Some people have a greater vocabulary and they use many more words. But anyway, not only that, but the grammar, and there are new words. Right? That's what they call a living language. A living language is a language that's evolving. Why is a dead language a dead language? Like Latin, because no one speaks it anymore. So it doesn't evolve. It's what it was. So if you look at our language, like every year in English anyway, if you're an English speaker, sorry for those of you in Spain, France, Germany, Russia, but if you look at the dictionary, every year there's new words added, which blows my mind because, and if I look at some of these words, I don't adopt them. All right. Like, I'm going to tell you something really interesting. In Sanskrit, the word Budh, B-U-D-H, Budh, means awakened. And this is where the word Buddha comes from. So Buddha, and Buddha himself, Siddhartha Gautama said, "Don't make any statues at me. Don't pray to me. Don't have any reverence for me. I'm just somebody who woke up, and I'm telling you how to wake up." And waking up means you wake up from the dream. The dream is that, I could go into that for a long time. But anyway, so Buddha means the awakened one. That's what it means. That's all. All right. And it's not really a religion, and I've mentioned this many times. It's not a religion in the usual sense of religion, because they don't really talk about a God. They don't talk about. They don't have. They're not monotheist or polytheist. I guess they would probably, since they're a derivative of Hinduism, they're probably polytheists, but they would be. But that's not the whole thing of Buddhism is psychological journey. It's a psychological reconstruction. It's a way of becoming awakened. Now, what's happened with that word, the reason I bring that up is because we now have a new word in our use, and please don't use it. Just don't use it. Don't use their words for linguistic manipulation. If they're going to use the word woke as if it meant something, right? Where does it come from? It doesn't even, anyway, the word is awake. I'm awake. I've awakened. So we got to go back to English grammar. Okay. So woke means, what does that mean? Think about it. Somebody woke me up. Okay. But it's not, okay. So you understand that grammatical position, the position of that word. Okay. It's not the same as awakened. Okay. So awakened is, or being awake. So anyway, I'm just saying don't use their words because their words, like with the whole idea now, the COVID. I was talking to someone recently who was mentioned to me about 9/11, and I think that most people that grew up or were maybe very young during that time are not even sure what really happened, and so it's gotten lost. But what has prevailed? What has prevailed is the story that is generally there on TV and media and stuff like that, and whatever they teach people in school, right? And so anyway, you could see how after one generation, that's all you got to do is just squash things for one generation and it'll come up. So you can imagine what our children's children will be saying about what their concept of reality will be versus ours, right? It's mind blowing. But anyway, going back to why we're sick, we're all sick because we're being poisoned systematically, and we have been for quite a while. We didn't know it. It was very subtle, but it's been accelerating over the last 30, 40 years. I think the big acceleration happened in the 50s with the advent of things like SV40 and things like that. So, but it's been subtly. It's in the food. It's in the air. It's in everything. So, if any of you are sick, if you got CFC, chronically fermenting cells, then please understand that um, we're all swimming in toxicity, and it's almost impossible. So it is impossible to protect yourself. We can do what we do, buy the best products, the organic products, and now we're not even sure what that means, right? Because now that appeal, APEEL, has been, of course, it was William Henry Gates III who got it passed. So now it's considered organic. So they can put appeal on your organic vegetables. And who's selling that? All those great places that we all used to go to. They're selling it like that. Okay. So we can buy all those things. We can buy organic toothpaste. We can buy organic or non-plastic. No. What do you call it? No plastics, no BPA on our floss. You can get some floss without it. You can go to certain places and get that. I don't mention names because I don't want to get shut up, knocked off. But anyway, you can get floss. You can do all those things. You can buy shampoos and soaps and things like that. And we're doing all these things for our personal hygiene. And then you're surrounded by, being engulfed by, swimming in toxins everywhere in the air. They're dropping up by night and all that. So anyway, the point is that no wonder we get sick. No wonder we get sick. And it's, you can't protect yourself. So that's why, what was that? There was a movie, I can't remember it exactly, but it was a movie about surfing. And these guys all, that was their life is to find the next great wave and, keep going. And that's how I view it. A lot of us can't, I get it. A lot of us are stuck with families and things like that. You can't, but if you have any freedom where you can take your whole family, I'm just saying it's time to start surfing, follow that wave, get going, because it's coming down all over us. They've accelerated. It's kind of like a pimple, they're ready to pop the pimple. Okay, it's been working. They've been coming at it a long time. So that's why we're sick. But not even talking about the fact, not even bringing up, not even considering the fact that we live in we live outside of nature. We build artificial uh, dwellings. We have artificial coverings of our body. Everything is artificial. We were doing that for a long time, but it's just that now it's become. I mean, we used to have, we didn't wear shoes all the time. We didn't wear them all the time. We didn't, and when we did, they were not made of plastics and things like that. And now plastic underwear, right? Nylon, same source as plastics, nylon, and or whatever we're wearing, or semi synthetic. So anyway, that's why we're sick. It's really, really hard to get away from it. But now let's talk about it. Let's answer your questions and talk about what are we going to do now that we can't get away from it, that we're stuck. But if you can get away, just go, get somewhere, go, keep going. Maybe where you're going tomorrow won't be okay in a year from now, 2 years, then you move, keep moving. Okay, why? Because you got children. You want them to have a chance at life. I do. You want your children. If you have young kids, come on, because here is, anyway, this is not why you guys came. I apologize. I got carried away again. But anyway, let's go to where we were. Where was I trying to find? I was trying to find that question. Okay, so here we go. Let's start here at the bottom of this. Okay. What do shots of wheatgrass do? Oh, well, okay. Well, this is on Instagram. Wheatgrass is, it's not just wheatgrass. You can substitute wheatgrass for spirulina. You can use any kind of really deep green plant. It's going to have chlorophyll because anything green has got chlorophyll. And the beautiful thing about chlorophyll is that at the center of the atom of the molecule chlorophyll, which is a porphyrin ring, the same as our red blood cells for some reason. But because of the shape of that porphyrin ring that holds the magnesium, which is chlorophyll, that porphyrin ring has what they call alternating double bonds, which grabs photons of light and uses that energy for photosynthesis. So you're getting liquid sunshine. That's what you're getting, liquid sunshine. But when your body digests it, you might be able to get all the constituents necessary to help you for red blood cells. But you also get the magnesium. The magnesium is bioavailable because it came in a chelated form, chelated to the molecule porphyrin. It's released and it's alkalinizing. So wherever it goes in the body, it alkalinizes the body. So that's a tremendous thing. Plus, there are amino acids in there. Amino acids are the building blocks. They're the constituents of peptides and proteins and nucleic acids and nucleotide, all the things that are make up our constitute our DNA, our genetic makeup. So it's got that. It's got also some amazing phytonutrients. Phytonutrients are basically they're not nutrients in the sense, like, for example, there are 3 basic macronutrients, right? Fat, amino acid, i.e. protein, and carbs, right? Those are the 3 macro. And then there's micro. Micro are like essential minerals, like there's 92 of them, zinc, but the main one, the big ones that we're well aware of are zinc, manganese, molybdenum, boron, magnesium, copper, iron. There's some fundamental ones there, but there are other ones that in very small amounts that we actually use. But fluoride is not one of them. Can you imagine? Keep it on the down low. Okay, fluoride's not one of them. But anyway, so that's what it does. So it gives you all that, and it gives you energy, it gives you liquid sunshine. And when you do a shot of it, now, by the way, you know how wheatgrass became famous? There's even much more to it. We could do a whole show on wheatgrass. It's tremendous stuff. We could do a whole show on spirulina. We could do a whole show on cruciferous vegetables. But wheatgrass came to the attention of the modern public through Anne Wigmore and her partner, Victoris Kulvinskas, and they founded a place called the Hippocrates Institute. Victoris is still alive and living in Costa Rica, still eating 100% raw, still lucid. Raw. I mean, I'm sorry, I used that word. I'm using eating 100% real food. Real food is what food is food that God made. Okay, what did God make? Tomatoes or tomato sauce? You got it. Tomatoes, right? That's it. Real food. Real food. Okay. So, when people say, let's get real, let's get real. Let's eat real food. Let's put our feet on the earth. That's getting real. Let's get real. Let's not lie to each other. Let's only tell the truth. If we're going to open our mouths to speak to each other, let's make sure that what we're saying is coming from our heart and our mind, but I mean, together, they come together saying that what I'm saying is to you is real, as far as I know. And I'm telling it to you for no other ulterior purpose than to communicate or to teach or whatever. So anyway, that's how we should use words. And as I mentioned earlier in this segment, the thing about linguistic manipulation, you must be careful of it. And all of you, please, all of you writing these letters, and I understand it, you're caught up, they caught you, they grabbed you, they put a spell on you, they call it a diagnosis, it's a spell, they put a spell on you, and once they did that, then they started showering you with their words. Now I'm telling you, their words, and their acronyms, don't use them, because then you're in their world and you're acknowledging all this stuff. I promise you, we can get you through this. We can get you out of this maze. But listen, there's an exit door there. Don't try to come out this way, because they're all waiting for you, right? Got to go through that exit door, okay? And because going this way, you got to ride on their words. For example, NED. Nonsense. No evidence of disease. First of all, there is no disease. Okay, there's only physiological adaptations to situations where the biological, psychological, and spiritual needs are not being met. That's it. Done. Physiological, psychological adaptations. Yeah, we make psychological adaptations, right? What are the psychological adaptations? Well, a lot of them are, I'm going to tell you a little story about the human condition. Okay, in non-indigenous, in indigenous societies where they're growing up in the real world with nature, they have rites of passage so that people don't go, and they also, well, let me explain this. They also, you have rites of passage, and then you become an adult. But in these worlds, they don't. Well, let me just tell you what we do. Okay, what we do is we tell our children that they're not good enough before they can speak. And why? How do we tell them that? By no, stop, and don't. No, stop, and don't. And then we give them lectures, and we tell them how they should be. Okay, this is how you should be. So when your Uncle Charlie comes over, you should address him like this. When your aunt, whatever. So after a while, a child learns to, when their mom comes in the room, they put on their mommy mask, they put on their daddy mask, the Uncle Charlie mask. We put on these masks because we realize, non-verbally, we just realize on some deep, profound pre-verbal level that what we are is just not cutting it. This is not enough, right? And the people of the world have already said, it's not okay, kid. It's not okay. You're a girl, you can't sit like that. You're a boy, you can't cry. Blah, 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 blah. And if you grow up in this society, you got to wear these kinds of clothing on. All this stuff is just telling you you're not okay. Yeah, and don't touch this and don't touch that and all that. Don't touch yourself. Don't touch the other person. So what happens is we've got all these masks, and we get to about the age of, I don't know when it happens. I'm no one really sure when it happens, and it happens differently with most people. It happens different at a different phase, depending on the upbringing. So some people are allowed to be who they are, authentic, for a while, but at some point, something happens. Now, the final event that happens was not more traumatic, emotionally traumatic than any of the other events. It's just sort of an accumulative. It's a response to an accumulation of these situations where you had to wear masks, And what do you finally do? You finally, this last situation comes to you, and you just you can't handle it anymore. So you become the mask, and we become the mask. And this mask has many faces. We've got, and we can change our faces. We can, oh hi, how are you? Yeah, oh, blah, 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 blah. Whatever it is, this mask. We become this mask, and we become the actor behind. But we don't even know that we're wearing a mask anymore. That's the problem. Okay, and this is probably the root of all neuroses. Okay, when you become a mask, the mask. That's why that movie by Jim Carrey was so profound to me, because I mean they got it, they get it, they understand it. Um, when he put the mask on, he became someone different. Yeah, and so that's it. So anyway, there was a very interesting guy in the '60s, psychologist, I think in the '60s, Arthur Janov, and he had something called Primal Scream. And Primal Scream was a therapy where he would take you back through your life to that point at where you became the mask. And you got to go back to it and then relive it, but don't put on the mask. And what people would do is they would scream because they would experience the moment they didn't want to experience. Whatever that moment is probably a moment of you're realizing that you have to die to authenticity and become a person of this society. I don't know. I'm using really horrible words that don't quite describe it. It's because I didn't sleep last night very well. So, but anyway, yeah, I got way off on a tangent there. But anyway, that's my point is this. Realize that, okay? Realize that about yourself. And one of the things that's very important, that's another reason why we want to find that part of us that existed before the mask and is who we are. And we can get to that through stop thinking, because the mind, again, is, remember, an uncontrollable, mad, insane monkey in our head. Insane monkey in our head. Insane. Every one of us with our mouths closed is insane. Period. Okay. When we open our mouths, we're committed to making sense for a little while, and we do. We make sense for a while. We're good at it, and but if you let anyone talk long enough, they start babbling. All right, and then as soon as you close your mouth, it's craziness, right? I got to yesterday, tomorrow. It's crazy. We hate it. We don't want to be alone with our thoughts, not at all. Give me a book. Give me whatever. I'm gonna need something. I got to do something. I can't be alone with this. So anyway. So we got to find that place in us that's still. There is a place in us. It's that place of pure awareness. It's that place out of which all things else come, arise. Okay. Awareness without an object. Okay. Thinking is awareness on an object, on a thought, on a concept, on an idea. So it's a flashlight versus a light bulb. Light bulb's just shining. It has no. It's putting light on and waking up all the dark areas where the flashlight's only focusing on one aspect. Okay, so thinking versus awareness. We want to get to awareness. Awareness has no object. Okay, and also when you're aware and there's no object, you don't know you're aware. So that's the part you got to give up, knowing it. Can't know it, because if you're knowing it, there's a knower and the known. You got to have two things, a knower and the known. Okay, so you eliminate that and you'll have awareness. And it turns out you're in a condition called bliss, and you're in a condition of pure consciousness, and it's a pretty amazing place. I'm not that I've had glimpses. I've been there. I work at it, and I get there for a while. But I know you never know it until you're done. You say, "Oh wow, I was there." Yeah. Okay. So anyway, why can't we heal teeth? If we unplug the corresponding organ, can't it heal? Okay, so that's organic. Anyway, I'm not sure what you're asking, but why can't we heal teeth? Yeah, teeth are. You're right. If they fracture and they break off, they don't restore. And a lot of that. I mean, there was a Dr. Becker who's an orth was I'm not sure if he's alive anymore, an orthopedic surgeon who wrote a great book called The Body Electric, and he was interested in why can an amphibian grow back a limb? Cut the arm off, it grows back. Why can a reptile, a lizard, you take off its tail, it grows back? Why? And so why can't we do that? Because he's an orthopedic surgeon, right? And he's probably doing a lot of amputations and things like that. So anyway, he finds out that there's really, and it's the same idea with the phantom limb. People that lose an arm and they can still feel it, right? It's called phantom limb, but it turns out there's an electromagnetic uh, imprint that exists that is that. So with the lizard tail, when you take it off, it's still electromagnetic there, and it can just reaccumulate what it needs, because all it needs is specific atoms and carbon and oxygens and nitrogen, sulfur, whatever it needs, it'll reaccumulate it. We can do it with our liver. You can cut out 2/3 of your liver, donate it to a sibling, and it'll grow back. It'll actually grow back, and that's why they can go in and do surgeries on livers and take it out, and it'll grow back. So take it, not all of it. You can't take it all out because it needs to be rooted somewhere. But anyway, it's electromagnetic. But teeth are part of it, right? And that's just the way they are. They're kind of an extension of the bone. And but now the other thing you were referring to, if we unplug the corresponding organ, can't it heal? Now you're talking about. I think you're asking, can the tooth heal? And you mean, can the tooth regrow? And can the tooth regrow? Is the answer thus far, as far as we know, the answer would be it cannot regrow. But what can be done is, if you have a good biological dentist and you've got a fractured tooth and all that, they can actually, what they do is they do biocompatibility testing with your blood and all of the, I don't know, 230 or 180 dental materials, of the ones that are acceptable. Of course, we're not talking about metals like titanium or mercury or any of those metals or silver. We're just talking about usually non-metal biocompatible materials. So they test that, and then they can actually if it's not too much off, they can actually put in materials. So because your teeth, remember, the teeth have the most important thing besides having a beautiful smile is to have functional teeth so that you can eat. My big problem is I have functional teeth, but I don't eat. I just gulp. It's like I've really, I mean, at my age, I should be eating by now, right? But I'm still gulping. It's ridiculous. That's why they're not worn out. I just, it's like the dog. You've seen the dog eat, right? Anyway, but one thing you're bringing up, and I want to acknowledge it, and that is the fact that the meridian system that is connected to each tooth is connected to different organs and muscles and joints and all parts of our body. So our bodies have all these different circuits in them, just like your house does. So one circuit might be for the bedroom light, the kitchen light, and the bathroom light, and they all go out at once. You change the fuse, and it goes back on. So it's the same thing. We have these circuits, and that's the way they are. And we know, especially with chronically fermenting cells, which we're talking. Remember, anyone who's listening for the first time, the Rockefeller word, which is called cancer, which is basically a zodiac sign, and that's what it is. It's a zodiac sign, and that has as its symbol a crab. Crabs walk back sideways, right? Okay, so, but anyway, what we're talking about is chronically fermenting cells. Okay, that's what it is when we refer to that word. We're not going to use that word because that word will make people terrified, and it hurts. It's painful. It's a painful word. We don't have to use it anymore. We can use CFCs, chronically fermenting cells. Okay, so I've had people that I've worked with who've had CFCs of their breast, and they had a problem with the tooth that's on their breast meridian over here, or colon, or prostate, whatever it is, and if they, for example, a root canal or a cavitation or something like that, or an abscess in there, and if anything, or even metals that break, if you put in metals like mercury and things like that, that block the flow in that direction, you turn off the energy flow to all of those organs, and of course they don't have the energy to heal. It's a big deal, big deal. So I think that's what you were referring to, but I'm not sure of the question. But as far as growing back teeth, I don't think at this point we can do that. Okay. What supplements would you recommend to support your liver after CFCs have spread to it? Well, good question. Liver, always for the liver is silymarin and all of its derivatives like silibinum, um, um, and that, of course, and then of course alpha lipoic acid, very very good. And if you're going to take alpha lipoic acid, you've got to also take a vitamin B complex with it. And to me, those are the main ones, and including, I would always include with their selenium. Selenium is very important. But what I would also do for the liver is I would make sure that I'm eating cruciferous vegetables, because they will upregulate phase 2 detoxification to allow my liver to do its job more easily. Because when the liver is most of us have activated, we have a highly active phase 1 detox, but not a very active phase 2 detox. Phase 2 helps it get out of the body. So we wind up with a lot of what they call intermediates, biochemical intermediates that get stuck and have to be stored and all that, right? But if we had a higher phase 2, we could get them out. So two things do that. One is uh, cruciferous vegetables, and that's the king, the most efficient. Broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, bok choy, arugula, stuff like that, maca. Um, and the other, coffee enemas will do that. Coffee enemas should upregulate, but they only upregulate one glutathionase transferase. They upregulate that enzyme, which recycles glutathione. But there are other things involved in phase 2. So that's why I think of the cruciferous vegetables as being king. And there's ALA and okay, so I'm seeing some really good questions here, you guys. So we'll talk about that. So start with Madison. Not been stopped. What? My been 16 days. My left side of my head hurt and not stopping with Madison. Medicine. I have brain MRI. What could be? Well, I don't know your situation, but what I would like to say to you is that V, your name is V. Okay, I don't know if you have CFCs somewhere, and and you're concerned that they might have gone to the brain or things like that. But you know, but if you're having a left-sided pain, usually when we think of unilateral instead of bilateral, instead of global all the way around, when it's just one side, we usually think there's something there. Now, what can cause pain? A lot of pain is what are known as what they came to be known as migraines. What migraines basically are is vascular instability in the brain, or inside the head, and they mean the vessel surrounding the brain. Doesn't have to be, it's not in the brain, surrounding the brain. And at first they constrict, and when they're constricted, it really decreases blood flow, and people see kind of flashing lights and stuff like that, just because there's decreased blood flow. So there's decreased energy at that part of the brain that sees, and so it's kind of almost like little um, yeah, flashing lights, things like that. They call it an aura, AURA. And then it expands, and when it goes real wide like that, it hurts and it's painful. And it's usually on one side. It can be associated with nausea, but it sounds like you've had chronic pain. And even though you've taken medicine, so yeah, you're going to get an MRI. But that's what. So the things that it could be are, um, as I said, vascular. There could be something there. It could be a parasite. It could be a fungus. Um, Stuff like that. But then you would have other associated symptoms. I'm assuming you don't have fever, you don't have a racing heart, you don't have any of those things. You're just having pain. So I'm glad you're getting an MRI because that's really the only way I mean, that's the best way. You could do a CT, but I think an MRI is much better for the brain. But get that, and then let me know what happened. Let's see if we can. Uh, how do I go about getting my breast checked? I don't want to do mammogram. Good for you, Shayla. Don't get a mammogram. Okay, tell the radiologist that they should get a mammogram. On if they're male, tell them they should have their testicles squashed and then irradiated. Okay. But that you're not going to play their game. I love it. So you can get an ultrasound if you can get someone to do an ultrasound in their office, a private practitioner. You can also do a thermogram. So the combination of a thermogram and a mammogram, I mean, and a thermogram and an ultrasound, breast ultrasound are really good. You can do a breast MRI because MRIs aren't the same as they're not. It's not ionizing radiation. But I think the best is ultrasound and thermogram. The other thing is breast self assessment. If you I'm sure when you take a shower every day, you wash your breasts, you feel them. You're probably very familiar with what's going on in there. I'm sure most women are aware of some changes that happen throughout the month. Things get bigger and smaller and bigger and smaller and things like that. So you get really familiar with your breast because in um, many studies demonstrate that probably one of the most accurate ways to find something that could potentially be a problem in the breast is with self-exam. So do that, but also get an ultrasound and a thermogram, breast thermogram. I would love to know about you and your family and how many children do you have? Well, we won't spend a lot of time on that, but I have two children. They're 30 and 28 years old, and my daughter is a raw chef here at my center in Arizona. Fantastic, amazing, amazing. I'm not just saying that because she's my daughter. Everybody says it. She makes food that wouldn't normally taste good. I mean, that wouldn't taste good. Well, first of all, like at different ethnic groups, like Korean or even Arabic or whatever, um, can make it raw so that it tastes. So not just it's okay, but like, wow, that's great. I want some more. How can I do that? Right. So that's what you want to do because you want to learn how to eat healthy. So, and what do we all know? End of the day, no matter how much sense it makes, it's got to taste good. If it doesn't taste good, you just won't continue doing it. That's just the nature of the humans. Okay. So it's got to taste good. So that's what she does. She goes around with all the students that come to our clinic, our center, and asks them, what do we need? What do we need to do to make you love it? What do you love? What's your favorite food? How can we reproduce that as close as possible? Or your favorite dishes? Yeah. My son's a musician. He lives in Japan, and I'm not married. I was, and their mother is one of my dearest friends, and more than friend. I mean, she's mother of my children. I'll love her and take care of her. And but she lives in Japan. I live elsewhere, and that's it. My family. That's it. I'm an only child, so and both parents have passed, and that's it. So next question. Is it possible to heal that diverticulosis? Absolutely. Start eating human food. Do a cleanse, clean out your colon. Do a water fast, not a water fast, a juice cleanse, juice feast. Do colon hydrotherapy. Do lymphatic work. Do exercise. Go to sleep early, and then start eating only plants, uncooked plant food. And this condition that they call, osis means your condition, right? Diverticulosis means you have a condition with these little pockets of that arise because just think about it. The colon has muscles, but they're kind of circular, and there's a condition. There's the process by which the chyme, which used to be food chews. When you chew and mix the food with your saliva, it becomes chyme, chyme. And as the chyme moves through the tract, it moves by a process known as the peristalsis, right? Where this contracts and then this contracts and just kind of pushes it along. So you've got these muscles. So now when you are putting in foods that's not appropriate to our very long digestive tract, like I don't know, a corpse, pieces of corpse flesh, um, you know, muscles and whatever organs that are dead, they don't have cellulose, and because they don't have cellulose, they like, for example, if you've got a lot of cellulose in here, which is long and stringy, undigestible, it's called fiber, undigestible, and it's in there, and when this squeezes down, it squeezes all of it, right? It, it's got something to grab onto. The cellulose gives it something to grab onto. But if you're eating processed foods and animal flesh and things like that, and lots of cheeses and dairy and things like that, there's nothing to grab onto. It's little pieces, and so it's going like this, and these pockets develop. And these pockets are called diverticulosis. Now, when something gets stuck in the pockets, gets blocked for any reason, and then some microorganisms get in there and start setting up camp, eating and having a party, they call it diverticulitis, and that can be extremely painful. It can be associated with the fever, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So all you got to do is figure out what is the cause, which we just told you, and so you just stop doing it. Stop eating that stuff. Clean out first, do all that, get colon hydrotherapy, and take care of the tube. Remember, the tube, it starts here and it ends down there at the anus. And if you take care of it, unless you get hit by a car or lightning, you're going to live long and healthy. Okay, taking care of the tube. That means both ends, and it starts here. And that means oral hygiene. That means, and it includes the nose, because remember, 80% of taste is olfactory or nose. The way it smells. Our tongue only has 4. I used to have 4. Now it has 5. They added a 5th one. Salt, sweet, sour, bitter, and now they've added savory. Okay, but that's all it tastes, which is why when you have a cold and you eat, food doesn't have any flavor. It's not that it doesn't have flavor; it has flavor, but it doesn't have any olfaction. If it doesn't have olfaction, then it's lost its I don't know, the depth of it. It's a very important part of it. So our nose and our mouth are parts of this tube that we must take care of. And our nose and our mouth have their own microorganisms. They have their own biome. So we have a nasal biome, we have an oral biome, and then we've got teeth, and they are, remember, they're connected up, they're rooted into the bone, and they're rooted in with blood vessels and nerves and lymphatics, right? And so they go to the different circuits of the body, and they also go into the bloodstream and all that. So we've got to take care of them. And if there's any kinds of problem up there with microorganisms or parasites or anything that get up in there, it can cause a big problem, systemic wide. It's not just there. So that's where the tube begins. Keeping your tongue clean. Get a tongue scraper. Learn how to do good oral hygiene. Learn to floss. Do oil pulling in the morning when you get up. Use coconut oil. You don't have to do it fast. You just do it about 15, 20 minutes. Get in the shower, take a shower, clean them out really good. You floss the night before. If you didn't need anything in the morning, you don't need to floss again. You could, just in case anything built up or you missed anything. And then you can use hydrogen peroxide, 3%, 6% even. Really good, cleans up everything. And then use some oils and there's different kinds of oil essences you can use, and a good. You don't necessarily need a toothpaste, but you can get one. There's some very good ones, but as long as you use a brush and you clean the roots and all that. So take really good care of your oral. Make sure what you put in your mouth is going to be like 90% of it turned into flesh and blood. Okay. And so that means you have to know what you're putting in your mouth. So if it's got a label, you don't want it, because the label is telling you they hid something. Okay, so you don't need a label if I hand you a banana. You don't need a label even if I hand you a piece of dead animal. You'll know what it is. You'll know it's animal muscle. But if it has a label, that means they're hiding stuff that on a molecular and at a molecular level. And called chemicals and stuff like that. So just don't eat it. We should learn how to read labels, yeah, But of course, you don't want chemicals. So if it's got a label, it's going to do that. And if they have to tell you the ingredients, well, you mean what I'm looking at? I can't tell the ingredients. I would just say don't eat it. Just don't eat it. Eat real food, food that's obvious. Let's eat obvious food. So, okay, all right, all right. Why would I get ivermectin for parasites if there isn't any holistic oncologist in my state? Why? You mean how, right? How would I get ivermectin for parasites? Well, no holistic. I mean, most even integrative or holistic oncologists don't think about parasites. So even with them, you're going to have trouble. And most other physicians don't think about it, whether they're naturopaths or medical doctors or whatever. They don't think about the degree to which parasites affect our health. Uh, so you're going to have to go to, you're going to have to either try to get them by yourself. Um, like you can go online and you can get the fenbendazole. And remember, you don't just want ivermectin. Everyone, we've talked about this before, and I hope you all remember, you don't want just ivermectin or just fenbendazole or just mebendazole or just niclosamide or praziquantel. You want them all, and you want to hit it hard for 3 weeks on, 1 week off, 3 weeks on, 1 week off, 3 weeks on, 1 week off. You want to do it like that over and over and over again until they're gone. And how you know they're gone? You won't know unless you do some energy testing. Unfortunately, there's no other like blood tests or anything like that. There's no test. That's why if you went to a regular doctor, they're going to say you don't have any parasites, so there's no problem. So you don't need to take anything. And if they did give it to you, they would look into the PDR, which is how they learn how to prescribe drugs, and it'll say just take one a day for 3 days or something bizarre like that. And of course, all you do, remember, if you undertreat these guys, they migrate. So you don't want migrating parasites in your body. You don't want that. All right. Let me see one other thing here. Okay. Wow. That's that. Now, so you're gonna go online, and there's a lot. Like you can get things from India. You can get you can get a lot of these that you can get from veterinary methods, veterinary hospitals, or veterinary websites and stuff like that. You're gonna have to figure that out, or you can make an appointment with Dr. Simon Yu in St. Louis, Missouri, and he'll figure out exactly what you need to write a prescription, and you'll be able to get it the right way. Yeah, that's it. And as I said, I'm going to be setting something up to do that as well. I just got to figure out legally how can I do that for people who don't come to see me, and so we're figuring out so I can, because there are a few pharmacies in the U.S. that will fill them. Sadly, in Europe, there's none because, or there may, if they are, I certainly don't know, but because Europe has had a something called the Codex Alimentarius, which I forget when it was passed, but it basically cut off all supplements. You can only get supplements up to a smaller dose. You can't get anything else. So they've really, Europe has been closed down for quite a while, sadly. And Canada, I'm not sure how Canada works, Australia, New Zealand, but the best bet is to get online and try to find ways of getting it while we still have that availability. And what I would recommend is to everybody is to if you once you get some, get as many as you can, stock up on them, because I have a feeling that something is on the horizon and we might not be able to have some of the same freedoms we have now. It's just, I don't know where I got that from, but anyway. How did Susan Summers die of breast cancer in the brain 20 some years later? Okay, I don't know what happened with Susan Summers. Is that what happened? Is that what did they do an autopsy? They found out that, or I don't know the story. But what obviously, if that is what happened, then obviously she had not discovered the she was doing she shows you how well you can take care of things by just staying healthy, balancing hormones, doing all this sort of thing. But if you don't find the source, if there is a source, if it is parasites, if it is uh, um, you know a root canal, or if it is a cavitation, if it is something that we can get to, and you don't take care of it, then it's going to never go away. All right. So that I don't, other than that, I really don't know about her. But for all of us, which I think this question is aimed at, is how do we avoid that, right? Why are they so obsessed with the gene theory causing CFCs? Heal your genes? Good point. Why are they obsessed with it? Because, uh, yeah, it's called the somatic mutation theory, and they recently when 20 was it 2006 or 5 or 4 or 8, so they finally decoded the human genetic genome, and so now they're making all these interventional solutions to problems that don't exist. And so anyway, the reason they are is because if you tell someone that it's genetic, what you're telling them is that there's nothing you could have done to prevent this. You have no role in this. Therefore, you can eat anything you want. You can do anything you want. That's the implication. But they don't even go that far. They go, but you can't smoke. But anyway, that's the only thing. But you can still eat, fried dead animals, and you can still eat grilled pig corpse. You can do that. It's fine. It's in your genes. Okay, well, not in your genes. I'm not sure. Yeah. Anyway, so it makes you helpless. If you're helpless, in other words, if there's nothing you can do, because the conventional world has two basic theories: genetic or bad luck, which is beyond absurd. There's no luck in the universe. Things are cause and effect. So if you're helpless, then you're going to go to them because they've got these magical solutions that they've come up with because they've discovered the human genome. And they did this through science. And science is, science like trumps all religions, trumps all belief systems. It is the only thing to put your heart and soul into. It's the only thing to worship, right? No, no, no. It's the one thing you want to avoid. Science has, I won't get into it again, but like I always do, but science is an evil. And sorry about that. I read it all the time. I look at studies. I rely on science. I'm not saying that I don't, but it does not trump God. It does not trump nature. It doesn't even come close. Not even in the same universe. So anyway, but anyway, so if it's genetics and there's nothing you can do about it, all they can do, they can kind of help control it. They're going to help you, and they're going to come riding up on their white coats, and they're going to be glowing in the sunlight, and they're going to save you with these magical potions. You have to realize how sick it is how mad it is, and everybody's falling for it. But anyway, that's why they say genetics, because that way you have no control. You have no way to. The only thing you can do is rely on their magical remedies. Okay. Yeah, that's what they do. And they went away from, because we knew back in the 1920s, we knew that CFCs were a consequence of a failure of cellular respiration with Otto Warburg and all that, right? And then they jumped into the somatic mutation theory because that's what sells drugs. That's what sells, and it also made way for the for what they're doing now with the genetic interventions. Okay. Okay, here's a question on supplements. This is by Mara, and it's you have mentioned the metabolic slash mitochondrial aspect of CFCs. What do you think about supplements for mitochondrial support? There seems to be little consensus as to whether products such as urolithin A from pomegranates might fuel CFCs or whether it will support mitochondria and healthy cells. Well, Mara, I'm gonna sorry I didn't get this question earlier. I would have looked up urolithin A to understand it from pomegranates. But there's no way. Listen, I do not think there's any way. I mean, I don't think there's no way that a pomegranate is going to fuel CFCs. Okay. Now, if there's any evidence that it helps, I would go with it. But there are other things other things that are not supplements, but there are some amazing peptides that are important for mitochondrial health. Now, okay, so in the mitochondria, remember mitochondria have their own DNA. They have their own DNA, so they make their own product. With a mitochondrion dies, then it makes a new one, right? From its own. It doesn't rely on the nucleus of the cell to do that. It's got its own DNA. Okay. Well, anyway, there's folds in the DNA. It's like curled like this, and right up at that inner pocket there is right kind of where the action goes, and that's where there is a fatty acid called cardiolipin, and it's only produced in mitochondria. There's no other place in the body. And it sits right at the doorway of the whole oxidative phosphorylation, which is how mitochondria make energy, right? Now, so what happens is because that's a lipid, it's a fat, it's fatty acid. It's actually 4 fatty acids hanging off, I think, a glycerol, and they're omega 6s, by the way. So, but if they become oxidized, right, which is what anything can become. So when fats become oxidized, that's what we call rancid. So butter, you smelled rancid butter and things like that. But internally, they can become oxidized and rancid also. So as it does that, it causes that fold to open up, and as that fold opens up, the efficiency of energy production goes down tremendously. And there's actually a peptide called SS31, which you can inject into yourself in the small insulin syringe, and it corrects that, brings it back. It's very nice. The other thing is, remember, omega 6, omega 6, omega 6, omega 6, omega 3, omega 3. You need a 1-to-1 ratio in a healthy world. But in a world that we live in, you're probably going to need a 3-to-1 omega 6 to omega 1. I mean, omega 3 to omega 1. Sleep. Anyway, omega 6 to omega 3, right? Omega 3 to omega 6, because we have our standard diets are like 20 or 40 to 1 of omega 6 to 3. But these are not healthy 6s. They're unhealthy 6s. So 6s are equally as important as omega 3s. Omega 3s and omega 6s are equally. That's why there are only two essential fatty acids, omega 6, omega 3. Okay? They kind of modulate each other, just like estrogen and progesterone. Okay? That they modulate each other. Just like HIF1 alpha and the dioxygenase enzymes and stuff like that. So, all right. Everything in nature has a modulatory. There's always a modulation. This thing turns it on. This thing turns it on. So in our cells, when we have an immune response, right? And we get the macrophages, the dendritic cells take a bite out of something, show it to the T4 cell, to the naive cell, T cell, and it becomes a activated T8 cell. Right now, it's going to go and after whatever it has been whatever it has been identified as causing a problem, it's going to go kill it, whether it's a CFC or anything else, some sort of microorganism. Now, if that gets turned on too much, right, and you don't have any kind of modulatory effect on it, you'll wind up getting it'll start doing damage. So that's not how it happens. So the way it happens is we have something called Tregs, which are T4 cells that get to the point where they can turn off this other one. And so it gets modulated. It gets modulated, right? So that's it. So there's modulation everywhere um, in the body. So that's SS31. There's another one called MOTS-C. Is it MOTS-C 5? But anyway, what it is there's when mitochondria are stressed, they produce something that comes out that it produces, it secretes it, which is MOTS-C, and it goes to the nucleus, which turns on all of these enzymes and these factors and gets turned on to support and protect the mitochondria. So those are really good. But the other thing for mitochondria, I would say, is you got to make sure you got high, good quality fats, because here's something that is it's true. You can look it up. It might even bring you to the study of USIPs. But here, I'm going to tell you in the way they said it, and then I'll explain it in real English. What they say is that longevity is inversely correlated to the peroxidizability index of the mitochondrial membrane. What they mean by that, if they would have, instead of saying inversely, they could have said that by the peroxidizability index. They could have just said simply that length of life is directly related to the integrity, the strength of the mitochondrial membrane, the degree to which it can resist being oxidized. And the way it can do that is by being made of healthy fats that are completely always being turned over and making new ones. And the only way you can be making new ones is if you're eating continually healthy fats. And healthy fats are chia seeds, flax seeds, all nuts, all seeds, pumpkin seeds, all that, smoothies and all that with seeds and fats and all that, all these healthy ones, including avocado, uh, yeah, and of course coconut oil. But that coconut oil is not an omega-3 or 6, and even avocados usually mostly omega-9. But anyway, so that's the story. Okay, very important, very important. Okay, so that's how we support mitochondria. And then the other thing is it's interesting. There was they were looking at the children of 90-year-olds, if both parents lived into the 90s, and they were looking at their mitochondrial membranes, and they found that they were, they did, they got little pieces of tissue from them, and they looked at the mitochondrial membrane, and they saw that indeed they did have, they were thicker, stronger. They didn't have as much problems. So it is mitochondria. Mitochondria are, so in other words, what that statement says is that our length of life is related to mitochondria. What's very clear is that when those mitochondria get disturbed, you wind up with fermenting cells, chronically fermenting cells, or you can wind up with anything, any condition that we know of. Even ones that are obvious, like chronic fatigue and all these things, are related to decreased energy production, right? And I don't have energy. And what is the fundamental, primary, probably the most common symptom of any condition? And it's fatigue. Tired. I'm tired. I don't have any energy. Okay, because energy is life. And when you run out of energy, it's over. And that's it. And that's why everything we're doing should be to support that energy accumulation and decrease its loss. Okay, and to use it where it's needed. Use it in your muscles. You use it to move around. Use it, yeah, all that energy, because your body is going to do with it at an unconscious level what it does with it. Because we use actually. A lot of our energy is used by our brains. Our brains really take up a lot of energy. That's why somebody who's, pretty much of a intellect and sits around and reads books, a scholar, is still going to be using up a lot of energy. Probably similar to the moderate athlete, not to the extreme athlete, but to the moderate athlete. So we use a lot of energy. So it's all mitochondria, and so not only length of life, but also quality of life is related to energy. Okay. And energy, by the way, is the entire universe. The universe is just an exchange of energy, because you can have um, I mean, if you look out into the stars and you had a telescope, um, you would see explosions, and so that's what's happening all the time. Energy is just being created, and then it's being sucked up by black holes, and there's just a big energy exchange. Okay. Um, and then energy exchange down here in the biosphere, where we have biological entities. That's what we're doing when we eat each other. When you eat, whether you're eating a plant or you're eating an animal, you're getting energy, right? Energy. Okay, and that's the bottom line. But it's just the way we are designed is, form and function, right? Form and function. Form defines function, right? Four fingers and a thumb need to be in this particular arrangement. If I had the thumb up here, I would not have the function that I want from four fingers and a thumb. I wouldn't be able to have the ability to oppose and to manipulate. All right, and so form and function. So creatures so plants are completely suited for their form and function to take in sunlight, to breathe in the carbon dioxide, to drink up the water and the minerals, and they use all that to do what they do, right? And then animals that eat the plant, whether it's an insect or whatever it is, was designed, is physiologically and anatomically designed to eat that and to derive energy from it. So so when you say what is food to any organism and to anyone, if anyone would ever ask you what is food, you would have one question. You'd have to say, which species are we talking about? And then you can answer the question. Okay, because what is food for one species is a waste product of another species, right? If a bear has a bowel movement in the woods, it's nourishment for insects and microorganisms, and necessary, right? And it's really good for the earth too. So anyway, that's it. And when it comes to higher form, they call them higher life forms. Higher, what that really means, higher and lower. There's always a morality or judgmental thing implied in there. But anyway, in life forms that have multiple cells, right? Like a single cell single cell organism will not need mitochondria. Their membrane, like protists, protozoa, their membranes um, provide the same sort of function that the mitochondrial membrane would form for a multicellular organism. Okay, so um, but all those membranes are for in the mitochondria or for the single cell organism is just to store electrons and gather the energy and to put them into a molecule called adenosine triphosphate, which is ATP. And then when a cell needs some energy, it just pulls off that terminal phosphate and free energy comes out. And that free energy is electrons. Okay, so that's why we are electromagnetic beings on a physical level. Yeah, and the mitochondria are sitting right at the center of that. And as long as they're working, you got a chance. As long as you've got energy, you've got a chance. When you run out of energy, it's over. That's why a high fat diet is good. A high healthy fat, zero bad fats. High healthy fat, zero fat. So whoever said low fat diet, I don't, it just doesn't make sense. 37 million new cells per second we are making, and each one of them has to have a plasma membrane, mitochondrial membrane, all membranes for all the other little organelles, and the nucleus has to have a membrane. All these membranes come from at least 50% of them is made of fat. The rest is what they call glycoproteins or glycolipids or things like that, which are carbohydrates mixed with fat or carbohydrates mixed with amino acids or protein. And that's what it. Other than that, it's made the basic structure of the fundamental constituent of all membranes is fat. So you got to have good fats because you're making a lot, turning them over. You're making them a lot. They also are required to allow for propagation of nerve impulses. Okay, so like for example, in muscular MS, muscular sclerosis. Wait a minute. Why I'm not thinking correctly. It's not muscular. It's called MS. Oh, I'm so tired. Anyway, MS. We all know what it is. what happens is there's antibodies that seem to get, this is what we're seeing, antibodies that seem to get in and make little dents in that myelin sheath around there. And if you make a dent there, then right there at that one little spot, it won't fire so fast. And if you got several of them, the total firing time of that particular nerve will be much slower. So multiple sclerosis. So multiple sclerosis just means that there's multiple areas, like usually in the brain, that are lacking that membrane, are lacking the uh, have a little hole in the myelin sheath, and then those will get healed, and it'll appear somewhere else, so they could get well for a while. Okay, that's better. I'm not having that problem, and then it'll go over here. So anyway, that's it. And if you took off all, just like with the wiring in your you plug it into the wall. If you took off the rubber, what is that, rubber plastic? The propagation would be so slow it wouldn't work very well. You've got to put that on that moves it along. All right, so that's how important it is. So our brain is made of that. Mine's not firing too good right now because I'm tired, and our peripheral nerves and all that. Okay, so that's that. Now let's go up here to another question on the website. I have finished. This is from Sharon, and she says, I have just finished chemo for 6 months and 1 week of radiation in July, and had clear PET scan last week. Today, I received the results of the Signatera blood treatment, and it showed positive. They want to do more chemo. I have stage 4 lung cancer, EGFR exon 19. I take Tagrisso still since July 2021 when I was diagnosed. Can I make an appointment with you? I'm terrified. The chemo was harsh. Absolutely. By the way, to you, Sharon, and to anyone else who's interested, I'm going to be back. When I get back, we'll start with the consultations again, and they'll be good. Probably in a couple weeks, 2-3 weeks, and we'll get back into it. I absolutely. But for you right now, let me just say this, Sharon. Couple things. Okay. So when you get a clear PET scan, what that means is that the chemo and radiotherapy, radiation worked. And what it does, it worked. The only thing it can do, those two modalities can do, is destroy mature CFCs, not the stem cells, but the mature ones. Okay. About 1% of any tumor is stem cells. 99% is mature cells. So that's what the high dose chemo and the radiation do. They get rid of that. So you do a scan, you go, wow, it's gone. I'm in remission. But you haven't eliminated the stem cells, and the stem cells will be the ones that will now form new problems. Okay. Now, that's one thing to keep in mind, right? So the Signatera is, they're looking at circulating tumor cells. And, they seem to be associated with progression and things like that. But that's all. But that's all. But that's all it means is there's some circulating tumor cells. Okay. All right. Now they want to do more chemo but you understand the absurdity in that, because to do chemo means that they can only get rid of, eliminate, kill, destroy the mature ones. And the only thing we have left, if you've had a clean scan, are stem cells. And anyone who's got even what they think is stage 1 CFCs, they're still microscopic areas of all around, but they haven't been allowed to grow blood vessels so that they can grow because it's been shut off. Okay. So the absurdity in what they're recommending high dose chemo is it won't work. And you could even, if you want, I wouldn't go back to this person, but you could say to them, by the way, can you show me the study that shows that by doing maximum tolerated chemotherapy, it will eliminate circulating tumor cells? Ask him for that study, and he won't be able to help you with it. He won't be able to show it to you. Okay, so now the other thing about what I want you to do, they came up with a stage 4. Okay, but first of all, don't buy into don't use their words. Okay, their words are ugly. Okay, stage 4 means that it has gone to another organ, right? Stage 1 means it's still in the same place it started. Stage 2 means it's starting to grow and starting to disturb the architecture. Stage 3 means of that originating uh, organ, cell group, tissue. Stage 3 means it went to lymphatic. Stage 4 means to touch another organ. So now that's all that means. But as I said, even someone with stage 1, so they say, is really stage 4 already because on a microscopic level. So the whole idea is it doesn't make sense. It just allows them for to that's how they have that's the terminology that they have for their algorithms. All right, and they need your diagnosis, which is a word, which is a histological diagnosis, which is a histological description. What am I saying when I use that word? Histology just means microscopic anatomy. That's all. Microscopic anatomy is looking at tissues under a microscope. You see tissues. You see, and if you've studied it, you can look under the microscope, and if they've got some heart tissue, you'll be able to identify it as heart. If they have liver, you'll be able to identify it as liver because it's got a specific shapes, what they call morphology. It's got a lot of things. Okay, so that's what they do. Okay, yeah. So now I just want to get rid of that stage 4 idea. Okay, so don't think it's, all this happened is that they've awakened. By the way, high dose chemo and radiation also stimulate all of the processes necessary for successful metastasis. Okay, so we've got to shut this down now, Sharon. We've got to shut it down. Okay, don't let that scare you more because it shouldn't. I'm just describing what is, and doesn't mean you can't undo it, right? Or you reverse it. Okay, so but that's what high dose chemo does. And if we had right now, if we were on a Zoom call, I could pull up and show you the research so you'll know that I'm not just making things up because I don't make up things. I wouldn't have the time to make anything up. I'm too busy trying to figure out what is to make anything up. And then why would I make something up when the only thing worth talking about is the truth? I don't think anything else is worth talking about or thinking about. Certainly not for me, and then all of you. We're all the same. It turns out. So, in other words, stage 4. That's their word, not my word, not your word. Okay. Right now, you're clean, right? You got to scan. Now, the EGFR exon 19. It's a new scare tactic, is what it is. It's a new scare tactic. We were talking a little while ago about genetics and if it's in your genes, you're doomed. It's in your genes. So now what they're saying is that these chronically fermenting cells are a result of mutation. In other words, we've changed the genetic structure. Well, okay, then we're done, right? We're done for. No, don't worry. We've got. And so what did they come up with this EGFR exon 19? There's 18, 19, and 22 that they talk about these exons. What do they come up with? These tyrosine kinase inhibitors, and they've got and they all add in gefitinib, and there's like 4 basic ones for this. They all end in IB, and they work fantastic if you use them. That's why they came up with the EGFR exon 19, so that you would use. It's a sales technique. It's part of the algorithm, the sales algorithm. So if you got that, now this justifies it, and the insurance will pay, and justifies them using this. And the best they can do is they have like a. I was reading one study with about 12 months progression-free survival. Oh, okay. So then what? Well, then, okay. So, well, that's not really enough. And that's not really the way I want to look at it. That's what I would say. So, by the way, just as these EGFR is just a epidermal growth factor, right? All cells and tissues have growth factor. They have epidermal growth factors. Epidermal cells, epidermal growth factors. In other words, there are different metabolic products in the body that will stimulate another cell to grow. Right? It's just how our body works. It works all synergistically. All right. So, and then the exon 19. These are just like further divisions of part of the gene, and they're just, the more bizarre and obtuse that they can be, the more you're going to believe them. You're going to think they're onto something. You're going to think they know something, and then you're going to believe them when they come running in with their remedy, and their remedy is some kind of poison. It's and it gets progression for what are you? Anyway, don't worry about this stuff. Okay, so we definitely need to have a meeting, and I just want you to know that do not get any chemotherapy. You don't need chemotherapy. Now, I don't know your particular case, Sharon. I can't really give you any advice. It's not, I can't. I can't. Not only because it's regulatory wouldn't like it. The regulatory people that run that um, allow me to practice, but also in reality, I got to know you. I don't know you. I have to know you and your life. Um, yeah, I need to know what time you go to sleep. I need to know when you eat, what you eat. I need to know your relationships and your how often do you move, and do you pray, and do you meditate? Um, Meditation, by the way, is just learning to not think. In case anyone's confused out there, it's learning how not to think. And you can be of any other. You can have any kind of religious beliefs, and meditate doesn't change it. Meditation is just learning how to not think. So it's good for everybody. Um, but I need to know all that stuff, and I need to know also. I need to know the look at your latest scans, your previous scan, a couple other things. And then we talk more. And then based on all that, we can come up with a plan for you to get out of this madness. Okay. But believe me, um, like this is not a situation where I would ever recommend chemo at this point. So, okay, here's Jane. I was diagnosed with stage 3. You notice these word diagnosed. You realize they nailed you. They nailed you. You don't want to ever get diagnosed. Okay, I was diagnosed with stage 3 breast CFCs with mets to the axillary nodes 2 years ago. Treated naturally. Where is it? Treated naturally through plant-based raw diet and supplements, Femben, etc. Coffee enemas daily, detox baths. BC has now traveled to the frontal sinus lobe. Huh? Has now traveled to the frontal sinus lobe. Frontal sinus is up here. You mean the frontal lobe? The pain is excruciating and eating away in the bone. Oh, it's in the frontal sinus, not the brain. Okay. I am now on OxyContin, and I don't know what else I can do. Oh, okay. Wow. All right. First of all, you've got to, I don't know where you live, but you've got to get to a a real biological dentist immediately. Okay, because we need to know if you've got any. I mean, very, very, very often when we see things like this happening, we find that there are abscesses, there are cavitations, there are root canals, and all sorts of stuff going on that are causing that. Okay, so that's number one. That's got to be done immediately, right? And you're on OxyContin. Now we got to get you off that as soon as possible, because OxyContin is an opiate, and it destroys everything. Destroys everything. Paralyzes the bowel, so you get constipated. Also, when it paralyzes the bowel, you can't digest food very well, so you don't really get the value of eating. You don't get the nutrients from your food. It also suppresses your natural killer cells, which you need to eliminate this chronically fermenting cells in your breast, or in your frontal sinus there. So we got to get you off that. And we can get that off that with rectal suppositories of cannabis, 4-to-1 ratio. Very, 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 very pure. If you can filter it down to 5 microns, it would be great. 500 milligrams rectally twice a day. And then maybe at the beginning you have to do it 3 times a day. If you put it in the latter outer part of your rectum, it won't go to the liver and it won't make you high. It won't make you, because I certainly wouldn't like it. And plus you can't function with that much in you. But if it's just there, then it can actually you can actually start eliminating the OxyContin. That would be very nice to do. But remember, if you push it in deep, it'll get absorbed into the portal vein and go up to your liver, get hydroxylated, and get turned into a psychoactive substance. Okay? So, so anyway, now I'm wondering if you have, if Jane, you did a lot of great things. I'm wondering if you also went to a biological dentist and you looked at these teeth over here, these back second molars, and then down here, I think it's the first molar. Anyway, no, it's only up here at the breast. I'm wondering if you looked at it. And I'm wondering if you did parasite cleanses. Well, it looks like you did fen-ben, etc., but I'm not sure what that is. So, well, good. I hope you did it right, where you kept doing it 3 on, 1 off, 3 on, 1 off. And but in addition to the fen-ben and the ivermectin and all that stuff, you also need antiparasitics. They go after protozoal parasites. Those would be like tinidazole, and that would be like metronidazole, and that would be like nitazoxanide, which is also called Linea. So there are a few that will, in addition to the fen-ben, the meben, the ivermectin, the praziquantel, the niclosamide, which are all for the worms. So anyway, you did a lot of great things, and don't worry, this can be taken care of. But we've got to immediately get into, we got to get you to a biological dentist. They're not all biological dentists. They say they are. So you go on the website and you look for biological dentists, make sure they're certified by the, forget what is IAO. Anyway, certified by that, trained by that. But then look at their website and look under services and see if they ever put root canals in. And see if they use, so if they put root canals in, they're not a biological dentist. Don't go to them. There's no way to put in a root canal that's healthy. Okay, it's impossible. It's called taxidermy. They put it's dead material, dead organic material into the into the body is not. Anyway. And a lot of these guys are saying that they're biological and they're still doing, well, this is a good root canal. There's no good root canal. Just like there's no good mercury. Mercury is pretty bad. So now, let's see. Where are we? Okay, so for starters, let's do that. And then Jane, got to get a hold of, we've got to get, don't worry, I'll be able to do this again, but if you can, if you're in California, I don't know where you could be anywhere in the world, but anyway, if you're in California, near Los Angeles, you can call Dr. Emma Abramian, who's a biological dentist in Glendale. Amazing. So just incredible, but she would definitely do more than you could ever imagine. But that would be the place to start. And if not, go to a place close to you. Go look on the website. Look under. Make sure they're certified by, what is it called? I forget, but it's something. But it's an international accrediting organization for biological dentistry. Okay, so excuse me. 1 second. I just want to get some water. Okay. Justnia, Justin, Justina, Justina. Triple negative breast CFCs is tenderness in the area, lump getting softer in some spots, and looking red on the outside, part of the healing process. No, I mean tenderness. Are you saying that it was not tender before and now it's becoming tender? So that's. I mean, it could be, but be very temporary. But the lump getting softer is definitely a healing in some spots. Looking red on the outside, so that sounds like it's inflamed. So anyway, something's happening, and I'm not sure what you're doing. Um, so really, to answer your question, Justina, if that's how you pronounce it, I'm not sure. Uh, uh, what's going on with you? I don't know how long it's been going on and all that, but it looks like things are moving around and things are happening. So you must be doing something. I don't know what kind of therapies you're doing or what kind of lifestyle changes you've made, but that's very, very important for me to understand what's going on. I'd love to talk to you about that. But usually, red spots on the outside would not be an indication of healing. Lump getting softer would be an indication of healing. Tenderness could be temporarily, could be okay. But there's other things that are going on too. There's a lot more on what's going on with certain blood tests, like your LDH. Is your LDH going up? Is your ferritin to iron ratio going up? How are your other markers? Um, and have you looked into all the things we've been discussing regarding your oral health and parasites? Have you been looking into that? So, but one thing that's very important for um, breast, especially triple negative, is the antiparasitics, and especially ivermectin is very good. Remember, you all that ivermectin, mebendazole, curcumin, vitamin C, doxycycline all inhibit CFC stem cells, which is what you want to do, and you want to do that. Okay, so keep that in mind, no matter where it started and all that. Okay, Josipa. My mom has non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, diffuse large B cell, and pancreatitis fistula. She is currently struggling with her pancreas because it is leaking after her spleen and part of her pancreas were removed. The diet they recommended for her is anything but healthy: cooked vegetables, low fat, dairy, and meat. Okay, so hope everyone realizes that that's like the opposite of a healthy diet. We'll, oh, we'd love to hear your opinion. Thank you. Oh, Croatia. Hi there. Fantastic. Um, well, I'm confused. If she had a non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, why did they take out part of her spleen and part of her pancreas were removed? Did they think she had pancreatic CFCs? Anyway, I don't understand that. So right now it looks like her problem is not from the lymphoma, right? It's because of the you say there's a fistula from the pancreas going where? Where does the fistula go to? Because if it's leaking pancreatic enzymes, of course it's going to be painful. It's terrible. So yeah, so hopefully she's not following their diet. She's eating, and if she's having pancreatic problems right now, if she's having like the pancreas, you want to give the pancreas a chance to heal and break, and that is, you need to stop eating for a while. I don't know her condition. I don't know if she's too thin and too weak. I don't know. I'm just saying that if she wasn't too thin and she wasn't too weak, I would say we need to just do water for a while, let the pancreas calm down and not cause so much pain. I mean, because it's pain when the pancreas leaks enzymes. There, it's very painful because the enzymes were designed to digest food, but they'll also digest the body, and that's very painful. Right. So, right. Okay. So now, so but I don't know when you say it's leaking and there's a fistula, they got to go in and fix that because if they don't, it'll continue to be that way forever. Right. So you've got to fix a fistula can be closed. The fistula is where from one organ to another, there's like a tunnel. Okay. So you got to close that tunnel. And if you close it, so it doesn't sound like she's got a pancreatitis that's just leaking enzymes all over the place, but it's going through a fistula. I don't know because it's not as clear to me. So Josipa from Croatia. Wish I could be more specific. But anyway, please keep that in mind that she needs to get that fistula closed and then see if she's got. So you did a blood test looking at amylase and lipase, and those were elevated or not? Okay, those are two enzymes that come from the pancreas that we can find in the blood, and if they're elevated, it means that's how we define pancreatitis. Pancreatitis means inflammation of the pancreas, and it can occur for many, many reasons. In her case, it sounds like it's a fistula, which wouldn't be a pancreatitis. So I'm not really clear, Josifa. So please send me another email or let's have an appointment. But send me another email Okay, hi. I have papillary carcinoma, thyroid. I'm confused if I should take iodine or not. I have taken it in the past. I've read sometimes overuse of iodine can cause thyroid CFCs too. Is this true? How do I test for iodine? I use nascent iodine by Global Healing. Okay. Ranuka. Yeah. All right. So, no, you need iodine. Okay. But you need iodine comes in two forms. The nascent iodine is iodide, like usually potassium iodide. But there's also molecular iodine, which is different than iodide. Iodide is an anion. It's a negative charge. It's a salt, potassium iodide. And iodine is molecular iodine. It's two iodines together, sharing the extra electrons. So it's stable. You absolutely need that. So that was your question. Yes, absolutely. And because almost all situations in which there's problems with the thyroid means that there is a lack of iodine. And we know that we just know that we simply cannot get enough iodine in our current culture and our current condition by eating foods. Okay, it's no longer in the foods. So unless you're eating sea vegetables like kelp, seaweeds, and you have to be eating them a lot. So if you were doing that, you'd be getting enough iodine. But you're unlikely to do that, just as most people that are not, don't grow up with Japanese or Korean diets. So you can get Lugol's pills, Lugols, or iodoral, Iodoral, which are both basically the same thing. You can get the 25 milligrams or 12.5 milligram. Take it daily, but that's not going to do anything right away. We also have to look at there's lots of things you can do with papillary. It should not be a concern or fear involved with this at all. Okay, it can easily be resolved, but you want to be doing many, many things. You need to change your diet, do some cleansing, do some colon hydrotherapy, lymphatic therapy. You got to go to bed early. You got to moving around all day. You got to learn to any kind of and this goes for anybody, not just papillary. and thyroid, but any kind of lymphomas, anything, breast. We got to adjust our personal life so that we're not in situations that are, um, damaging to us emotionally. Uh, and so, a lot of times that's people's work. Like a lot of times the work is like, for example, if you don't like your work, then that's and the whole time that you're at work, you're feeling, angry and or even like despondent or depressed or anything like that. That's so you got to work on that, and it's not always easy. A lot of people are unable to change their jobs. They're unable to do things like that. But you have to realize that if you're in that situation, it's extremely important that you do that, right? And if you have any relationships that are toxic, where people are, like a boss that's or a spouse or a friend or a parent or a child, where it's really toxic, you got to get out of those relationships for now. Just say, I'll talk to you next year. I need to go heal. So I love you, but bye. All right. Those things like that are very, very important. So now, um, but you need the iodine. And while you're doing the iodine, you also need to be um, doing your basal body temperatures to because you can't trust blood tests. They don't help unless your TSH is really high. That's the only thing that ever is of any indication. Otherwise, they don't help. You get in the morning when you wake up before you go to the bathroom. You put a thermometer, an axillary. Axillary is the medical term for armpit. Axillary thermometer in your armpit, in your axilla, and you get your temperature, and you do this 5 days in a row, and you take the average. If the average is less than 97.8 Fahrenheit, 36.8 centigrade, then you are not getting enough thyroid hormone, and then you get a natural one. You can go online and go to ThyroBands, or you can get a naturopathic or medical doctor or nurse practitioner or PA, anyone who's able to write prescriptions, write you a prescription for um, a natural hormone, natural thyroid, and you can. And I don't know if you're taking it or not, so it's really hard for me to answer this question. But um, anyway, you keep taking it and you titrate. It's always on an empty stomach, and you titrate upwards until you've gotten normal temperature, healthy. Have a healthy temperature, not normal. Normal temperatures are low. Healthy temperature. Okay. You don't have to test for iodine again. Remember. Okay, unless you're Japanese, you low. But you got to be doing other things. You should be doing ozone, vitamin C. There's a lot of great things you can be doing. You can be doing local hypothermia there. You can be doing, depending on your age, you could be doing, not even your age, any age. I would do thymosin alpha 1. Now, the other thing I'd like to just bring up with you, it's very, very important. The problem with all CFCs, at the end, it comes down to two things. Number one, the mind, but it's actually related to number two, which is the immune system. So, because the mind and the immune system work together. So, first of all, with any kind of CFC condition, you need to first clean. Go to a good biological dentist, get everything taken care of, ozone, everything, PRF, everything they're going to do to make sure that you've got a clean mouth. Essential. Parasites, essential. Colon hydrotherapy, 2 times a week for 8 weeks, and then once a week for a few weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, and then twice a month for the rest of your life. Moving around every 90 minutes, every 1 hour to 90 minutes, you get up and you move around briskly, get out of breath for 10 minutes. Okay. Push-ups, sit-ups, running in place, jumping jacks, bicycling in place, because for your office or whatever. Yeah, just do that and get out of breath. Crawl on all fours, 2 legs, 2 feet. All right. Okay, now, so you're going to clean out, then you're going to learn to turn the mind off because the mind will, because remember, 80% of thoughts are negative, 90% is subconscious, which means we don't know what we're thinking, which means we are going to affect our immune system negatively. So our immune system is being affected negatively. On top of that, we have what's called the tumor microenvironment. Around in the microenvironment is just the environment in which the CFCs are living. Okay, now this tumor microenvironment is got a couple of well-known um, um, qualities about it. It's got low oxygen and high acid. Both of those change everything. They stimulate inflammation, inflammatory cytokines. They stimulate pathways like HIF-1 alpha, which makes everything grow, and it's just horrible. But regarding the immune system, it basically turns off the immune system. Okay? Now, the way it turns it off is, and I think we talked about this a little bit earlier, about the fact that, okay, so you have what are called macrophages. Macrophages are, and dendritic cells take a bite out of cells, and they take a piece of it to the T cell that's just come out of training and doesn't have a, so it's just out of Langley. It's a brand new CIA agent, but doesn't yet have a target. So it gives them a target. Then so you've got the T cells, and you've got the T helper cells. And then in the tumor microenvironment, you got cells that are part of the body that are called fibroblasts that help, that are needed to make the tissue bed, to make the collagen, to make all of the tissues and the connective tissues and all the things that the fibroblasts do. They also do other. They're amazing. I mean, the more I read about and learn about fibroblasts, I'm blown away. But anyway, any of those cells that get into the tumor microenvironment become tumor-associated macrophages, tumor-associated fibroblasts, tumor-associated neutrophils, and it suppresses natural killer cells. And in other words, it turns off the immune system. So your immune system comes running through the door ready to do its job, and immediately gets in there. It's like, ooh, and it gets like, it's gone. And this is what we see happening with, this is getting low. Let me see. This is what we see happening. Let me see if I got this. Nope, wrong one. Here. Sorry, just there we go. Wait, I'm just doing this because one of the batteries are running out. Sorry about that. Hmm. Did that help? That didn't do it either. Anyway, don't you all wish I knew what I was doing? Oh, well, I think we got time anyway, because we're getting close anyway. We only got 1 minute. What am I doing? Anyway, here's the point I was making. So you don't think I'm absolutely nuts, just a little bit nuts. Here's the point I was making. We have a way to change that. We have a way to change the tumor microenvironment. And it's very, very important. It's a pentapeptide. It's got 5 amino acids, okay, made by the adrenal glands normally, okay? It's called metenkephalin, okay? And they call it MENK, Okay, and the important part of MENK is that, as I said, it's generated in the adrenal glands, but it triggers the immune response by binding to the opioid receptors on metenkephalin is part of the opioid family. It binds to opioid receptors on the surface of immune cells and activates them. Okay, so when they've been studying this pretty intensively since about 2010. So when it does this to the dendritic cells, it upregulates it teaches them to upregulate, to have more of the receptors, and then it positively affects the CD8 pluses. What are the CD8 pluses with the T cells? What are they? Those are the ones that kill tumors. Okay, those are the ones that kill tumors. Now, what happens is, I talked to you before about Tregs. Tregs turn off the CD8s. They turn them down. That's how we modulate. Okay, well, with CFCs, part of the process by which the tumor microenvironment becomes so nasty and terrible to the immune system is that it upregulates and stimulates production of more Tregs. And if you have a lot of Tregs, you just basically are shutting down the CD plus 8s, the activated lymphocytes, killer lymphocytes. You're shutting them down. And if you shut them down, you can't. It's over. Okay. So, but that's what it does. It upregulates the Tregs. Okay, well, MENK, enkephalin, turns off the Tregs. What else does it do? It reverses the polarization of the macrophage to the M2. It's in the M2. The M2 is the tumor-associated macrophage. Okay, that's the M2. It reverses them. It brings it back to an M1, which is what you want. That's the one that's going to do the job. So do you realize that? And then the M1 produces cytokines, which are called Th1, which takes the whole immune system back to Th1. This is a big deal. If you're doing this and you're meditating and you're doing all the other things we talked about, okay, and you've got Ta1, you're giving a thymosin alpha-1, which is going to upregulate your ability to your ability to produce T cells in general. You're doing all of this and you're eating right and all that stuff. It's gonna be an easy task to restore health and balance in your life. Okay. Anyway, I can't tell you how important this is, but anyway, it's called metenkephalin. You can get it now. I don't know if where you can get that in whatever country you're in, but Peptide Sciences, they have it, I think. Otherwise, you've got to go to a doctor who will write it and have a compounding pharmacy produce it. It's actually a very simple. It's a structure. It's 5 amino acids, right? So when you have just 5 amino acids strung together, it's not a big deal. I mean, it's not it's just tyrosine, glycine, phenylalanine, and methionine. Just 5 amino acids. It's easy. So when they put them together, you've got this amazing peptide that does all this stuff. So it's very important. It's actually considered as the mediator between the immune system and the neuroendocrine. Endocrine is hormones, neuro is brain. So the connection between the brain and the hormones and the immune system, it brings them all together. And this kind of directs it. It's extremely important. And you can do it. You can get it and you can use it. Okay. I recommend it highly. And guess what? There are no side effects. It doesn't hurt you. It can't hurt you. Okay. All right. Well, we did it. Sawadee Kap, Kapumakap. And I will be trying to, by the way, next week, I will be here. One more week. Yeah. Okay. One more week here. And then, one more Sunday. So next Sunday, I'll see you. Okay. Have a fantastic week. Thank you for coming and joining and being part of this. And hopefully I will have slept next time we meet. All right. Bye-bye. Sawadee Kap.